Hello, faithful covenant warriors. Back again, and this is part 2 of first video that I did on 1 Samuel 25. Now, the second thing that the Lord had revealed to me through this passage is how Abigail speaks to King David. And as we're standing for restoration and believing for our husbands, our spouses to come home, specifically for women, right? I think one of the things that we'll have to learn is how to communicate with our husbands, how to submit to them because they are the head of the household. But submission doesn't necessarily mean staying quiet, especially when there's something important, especially when our spouses are not seeing the situation correctly. They're being blindsided. We get to be those spiritual eyes for them and help them see the situation as God sees them. And so this is what the Lord had revealed to me. And I'm not going to read 1 Samuel 25. I'll let you guys read it on your own. But starting in verse 18, the first thing that Abigail does is she acted quickly. As soon as she heard what David was planning on doing and how he was planning on resolving this issue with Nabal, she acted quickly, ordered the servants to get all this food, and went to look for David. The second thing is, as soon as she got there, she quickly got off her horse, or her donkey, and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. So she postured herself in humility, right? She bowed down to him. She was in with a heart posture of respect and reverence for who she was speaking to. The second thing that she did is she asked for permission to speak. And she says, "Pardon your servant, my lord, and let me speak to you." So she recognizes that she is coming to David unexpectedly, and so she asks for permission to speak. And the second thing she does is she helps David take attention from Nabal, from the thing that he is so angry and so consumed by, and brings the attention back to him. So she says to him, "Please pay no attention, my lord, to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name means fool." And then he says, "And now, my lord, as surely as the Lord your God lives, and as you live, since the Lord has kept you from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands." So she brings the attention back to David, back to what God is doing in David's life. And she continues to minister to him. And the other part that she does really well is in verse 28, that she says, "Please forgive your servant's presumption." And I think that when we speak to our husbands, we don't want to come from a place of like, we know better. We want to come from a place of humility, of a, hey, have you thought about this? What are your thoughts on this? And coming at it, not presumably that we have all the answers, but just as something that they may have not thought about, and being humble enough to be able to say, like, I could be wrong. I may not be 100% right, but this is what I'm seeing. And she's able to then explain to David and remind David of, number one, the promises that God has for his life. She talks about the lasting dynasty, the battles that he's fought. He's reminding him of the victories he's had because of the Lord, and that he will continue to have these victories. And she gives David that confidence. Like she says, "And when the Lord has fulfilled for my Lord every good thing he promised concerning him, and has appointed him ruler over Israel." Like she is like declaring what God has promised David and making sure that he knows, that she knows what God, who God has called him to be. She is reminding him of his identity and reminding him of who he is And this is after David has this encounter with the messengers of Nabal, who basically laughed at him and insulted his identity and who he was and mocked him, right? And so she is speaking truth to him, and reminding him that he is respected, he is valued. She's speaking about his character, of who he is. So, and explains to him the consequences. So this is the last part. She's affirming him, and then she's clearly stating the consequences in a way that is allowing David to understand. I'm almost speaking it in future tense when she says, my Lord will not have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed or having avenged himself. And when the Lord, your God, has brought my Lord success, remember your servant. So she is saying, like, because you're remembering all of this that God is doing in your life and will continue to do in your life, you're not going to have to carry this burden if you go down this path. And I think that really speaks to David. Like, she reminded him of the victories that she had with Goliath. She is reminding him that he is fighting the Lord's battles, that he doesn't have to do this on his own. And what she's doing, she's bringing good judgment. She's bringing that wisdom. And David responds by saying, may you be blessed for your good judgment and for keeping me from the bloodshed this day and from avenging myself with my own hands. So she kept him from sinning. And I feel like the Lord is wanting to prepare us as he's bringing marriages back together, right? That the wisdom that we carry, that the season that we've walked through, everything we've learned, whether it's through learning about spiritual warfare, learning about forgiveness, learning about deliverance, like all these different things that we may have more understanding and wisdom, that through revelation from the Lord, that we may be called to minister to our spouses. And it's not what we say, but it's how we say it, how we bring these matters to them, that is going to really be important. And we can learn and lean on and glean on Abigail's wisdom as she's basically ministering to the future king. And of course, then he asks her to marry her and come back to the palace. But that is another story. Anyways, I pray that this gives you wisdom and insight, and you can just learn how God can use women to help their spouse. Like, that is what we are called to do, to be their helpmeet and to help them see the things that they sometimes can't see. So have a blessed day.